It's
Awesome.
Monday at noon. So you know what that means? It means we are going to get together and we're going to share a bunch of tips, tricks, and secrets amongst a bunch of agents. And today is going to be a great one. It's going to be an open forum. So you're going to really love this. We're recording this. We're glad you're here live because when you're live, we get to hear from you because the great part about it is we all learn when we all share and collaborate, right? Real estate's such a competitive business, right? Where agents, nobody wants to help anybody. That's not how we do it here. We want to help everyone because we believe a rising tide is going to float all boats. And so before we get started, though, we have some resources for you. I'm going to share my screen and show you a couple of things that we have. One of them we have is we have a web page. Can you guys see my screen? Hopefully you can see that. We have a web page. It's this is actually our YouTube page. This is actually where we record these calls on Monday and we put them here. And of course, you can always access them so you can go back and you can just be present during the mastermind. Then you can go back if you ever miss anything. It's great to be here live. Because we do record it, sometimes people wait to watch it till afterwards. I think you get more out of it being here because you can ask questions. Plus, we can get things from you. There's a saying that, the teacher, the one who gives, gets the most out of it. So we'd love to hear from you today because you're going to get a chance to talk today. We do have a website where on this, we have all different resources you can see across the top. But the biggest one we're on today is the events. Tells us what topic we have coming up. Today, we're going to be talking about old school real estate strategies that still win business today. So we're going to have that. We have a Facebook page where we put announcements in there. So make sure you get invited to that. And then we have an Instagram page where we put different posts and things like that. But today is all about you. If you're on here and you're wondering, is he talking to me? The answer is yes, I am talking to you because we're going to be talking about going back to the basics and talking about what we call old school, time-tested tactics and strategies that work for people. They worked way back decades and decades ago, and they still work today. So come ready to share, ask, and bring your burning questions because we're going to hit up these. Well, we're not going to call them old timers. We're going to call them seasoned agents. They've been around a long time. Why is that important? If you're newer and you're on here, why is that important? Because there are some horrifying statistics out there. Do you know that 92 out of 100 agents don't make it past 5 years? Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because they spent all that money on real estate school and they got in and they don't want to make it? No, typically it's because they don't have a strategy and a plan to follow. And a lot of times they get distracted by the new shiny object, the newest thing popping off, right? Realtors, they get distracted all over the place and they forget about things which are called dollar producing activities. Dollar producing activities. In fact, you should write that down. Am I doing a dollar producing activity right now? Because if you're not, that's what you want to get back and you want to get focused on. So we're going to talk today about some time proven strategies and some things like that that worked way a long time ago and they're going to work now too. So who wants to get us started with a topic or a tactic or a strategy that worked a long time ago, but it seems like agents are going away from? What do we have out there? Well, it's definitely. Go
I'm the
ahead.
oldest, so I'm gonna go first.
Kim Campbell.
So, I mean, we are so caught up in social media these days, and so therefore, people always, social media waiting for the phone call come in. Man, I get in the car and go to places, like go to people, go to visit and ask them for business right then and there. So go in person is one of the old school that I've ever done. I mean, for 27 years, I've never changed that. That's one of the things that to go see people in person, belly to belly, especially you want to meet with seller and buyers. I mean, meet them exactly where the house is. Pop by, pop by, pop by. So one of my technique that I'm still doing is pop by. That still bring me a lot of businesses. So that would be my one tip: is go in person, meet people.
Kim, so I love the old school strategy of that, right? The belly to belly talk. So what is a way that people could take that old school strategy and leverage new technology to make it even more effective? Because sometimes you show up at people's house and knock on their door and what? They don't answer, right? They get the Ring doorbell on or something like that. And they don't come. What's some strategies, or anybody else who wants to answer this too? What are some strategies that people could use to leverage newfound technology and social media and things like that to set up these pop buys and make them effective? Who wants to talk about that? Go ahead, Keith.
So,
I love Kim's idea. I used to do a lot of drive-bys, or especially if I saw it for sale by owner sign out. But then I would use, I would have a packet I would leave. And I started in Chicago, so I know I've had my packets taken by another realtor, and I've grabbed a few of my own. So then I started to use an express envelope to leave it at the door, so that, you know, nobody wants to mess with an express envelope. They think it's pretty important, so I know it'll be there. But let's take it to the new school. Let's say you do a pop by and you have a doorknob hanger, but you have a QR code on the back of the doorknob hanger. They can scan your QR code, and then it goes to a video of you. So if you don't get them live, they can still get to see you face to face, hear your voice. So you leave something like a doorknob hanger with a QR code and say, hey, something catchy, scan this. And so then they scan it, and then, you know, you still get to get that like you were there, but you weren't, you missed them, but they have your information. So that's taking some of the new school technology, combining what Kim's doing, and you still get that face-to-face impact.
I love that, Keith. I know I'm going to get asked this in the chat. So do you have any QR code apps or websites?
I go to the internet for that. I go to the internet, look for a free QR code maker, and that's what I use. I'm always looking for the free option.
Canva Pro makes the
Say it
What
again.
is it? Canva Pro?
Canva Pro, yeah.
Canva Pro makes QR codes for you. I love it, Keith. I love that. Who else wants to kind of 10x that idea? The Popeye is great, right? Look, we know face to face, belly to belly. Human beings are social creatures, right? We need to socialize. There's a saying out there right now that says we are the most connected we've ever been in the history of mankind, but we have the least amount of connection there's ever been. People are the loneliest they've ever been in the history of mankind, because we think connected, right? All the social media connected means there's a connection, and it's not the case. And so the agent that's going to win is the one who can build that connection with their people. Popeye is a great idea. What Keith said, 10x. Anybody else got something they want to add to that, to the Popeye? Go ahead, Laura.
You know, what I've been doing lately that's been working extremely well is lunches. Just having lunch with a couple people a week, one-on-one. And, you know, you've got an hour, hour and a half you're spending with them face to face, talking to them. It has really been extremely effective. It's a little slower going because you're only doing 2 people a week, but that's 4 a month. And out of those 8 a month, I can add those 8 a month. But out of those, someone is going to send you a referral by the next month. So it's well worth your time. The other suggestion I was going to make is on social media. So on Facebook, I suggest that you go through all of your past clients, all of your current clients, prospects, and Facebook request, you know, to friend request them. And then I've created a group for my past clients so that I can send them things individually. And then I message them, and that way I make sure I'm showing up on their Facebook pages and commenting. So that is some real focused lead gen using social media, but really focusing on your clients or your prospects, because who sees our posts? You know, 30 people, you know, we'll post something and hardly anybody sees it. So it takes a little bit longer, but it's highly effective also.
Yeah.
Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, but the National Association of Realtors says that every person you know knows 5 people that will do a real estate transaction in the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Like every person you know knows 5 deals. Somebody around them in their sphere is going to do a real estate transaction. That's the right number, right? Is it 5?
Yeah, it's something like that.
It's something like that.
Right.
So the lunch, even though they may not be doing anything for 8 to 10 years, it's not just who do they know? Right? That's the question. Who do they know? And what's a good script to use after you've had the lunch and you've hugged it out and everything, and you're getting ready to get out of there? How do you slide it in there? Like, hey, I'd love to have a referral. How do you do it without sounding cheesy or whatever?
Brian Buffini, baby.
Yeah.
Do you know anybody who's
You gotta
looking
use
to
Brian
buy,
Buffini.
sell, or invest in real estate?
Remember the "oh, by the way"?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way.
Oh, by the way.
The Columbo effect. Oh, by the way, hey, Mary, you know, if you know of anybody that's thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, I'd really appreciate you giving me a call with their name and number, and I'll follow up with them for you. You don't give out your card. I tell people don't give out my card, and they're like, why? And I said, because they're going to lose it. So get their permission for me to call them.
Please don't give out my card, because in all these years, 28 years of doing this, I've had less than 5 people contact me after that of you handing out your card. You could go to the mall and hand out my card. No one's going to call. They're going to end up on the ground, right? It's better to make a warm connection. I love that. That's great, Laura. So oh, by the way, oh my gosh, as you're walking out the door, hey, if you happen to know anybody who's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, I would love for you to introduce me to them.
Well,
I like the word introduction versus referral. Go ahead. I heard somebody talking.
To add to that, it's Tony Robbins does it very effectively. When you go to Unleash the Power wherever, he asks you, give me 3 people who would benefit from this. And he asks you to write them down. And he asks for 3 because you're going to at least think of 1, because you're going to feel guilty if he asks for 3 and you have none. And it's so effective to come up with a name and contact information. And he does that every single time you have interaction with Tony Robbins.
That's awesome. That's great. And that's putting pen to paper and actually making them think and making it real top of mind awareness. I love that. That's great.
you know,
Tony's
I
big into disrupting that brain pattern, right? He's big into doing that. So that's great. Go ahead.
Right. And we got away from it, but it's something old school. We would give them a survey of our services. And at the very end of that, like, what did you like most about working with us and so forth. And then at the end were those, hey, can you refer 3 people to me? So having that like at settlement, at closing is a great way to boost your business while they're in that mindset of, while they still like you.
Yeah.
Because
Right. No, it's really true. They said the stats, I think, with NAR were that 82% of people surveyed that did a real estate transaction would use their last realtor. 82% would use it, but less than a quarter do. And the reason is because they didn't hear from their realtor again. Right.
You know,
Somebody
hey,
else built the connection. Go ahead, Tony.
yeah, I really believe you got to get out to where the people are. You know, like, yesterday I heard an announcement that said on the 29th of this month, there's going to be 10,000 people at a 4th of July celebration in Woodstock, Georgia. I grew up in Woodstock, Georgia. I will be there. There's no telling how many people I'll run into, and they'll say, hey, you still doing real estate? And that's where it starts, knowing my market, knowing what's going on. We're in a situation right now, if you're not focusing on listings, I mean, any minute now, they're going to lower rates. I mean, this thing in Washington, D.C. is going to get cured, and someone's going to fold, and they're going to allow the market to take off. And if you're not ready for that, so the thing is being out there where the people are is just so important. I made a few notes on this thing. What I would do is the first thing is I listen a lot to what Ricky Caruth talks about. Write down everything you're doing to generate leads, and then there may be 5, 10 things that you're doing to generate leads, but then go back and figure out the efficiency of that list. One of the things I'm working on right now, and a lot of you know this, is I've been working on my Google business profile and getting reviews. When I go ask people for a review, they'll say, what is it you want me to say? And I tell them right up, hey, look, here's what I'd like for you to do. Tell why we are good in real estate. And that just starts a conversation off, and it gets me a review for my Google business profile. So, write out the things that you do for lead generation, whittle those things down, make it efficient. What are my top 2 bread and butter lead generation things that I do, and then really focus on those things. I just think we're at a point right now where we have to get back to those kind of fundamentals.
So Tony, let's drill down on that. So what is an old school lead gen tactic that that works? We're talking from the old days, right? Back when you were 5 years old, 30 years ago, when you started real estate, right? What's something back that has worked consistently for you over all these decades that maybe people that are newer could implement in their business?
I've got a listing right now where the man, he only wants to live on a street where there's 28 homes total. I am really focusing in on those 28 homes. I know that a lot of those homes are going to be sold soon because they're in a senior adult community. Now, what am I doing? I'm sending out cards. Are you thinking about selling? And I'm creating cards that says, you may have seen a guy walking around on your street, looking at your street. He wants to buy one of your homes. I focus in on what I have. And then when they call me and they say, do you really have somebody like that? Yeah, I've got a fully qualified, matter of fact, he's all cash. I have a fully qualified buyer looking to buy a home with a 2-car garage on your street. Do you want to sell? I get real particular right now. So I'm sending out cards to those people that live in that neighborhood. Now I'm telling you this, some of these are going to someplace in Florida because they're out of state owners, okay? Or the family owns the house. Well, there's going to be a change there in there. So I'm really focusing in on making sure that they know that I've got a buyer and I'm getting cards out to them. The other thing that I'm doing this old school, and I've been doing it for about 4 years now, is I send out reminder media magazines. It's called American Lifestyle. I think I've got about 400 families in my database that I send out those magazines to every quarter. And I customize the letters that are inside my magazine. And they get a full color magazine with all these recipes and stuff in it every month. And I have people that they'll walk up to me and they say, man, I love getting your magazine. And it just tells them once again that I'm out selling real estate.
So let's talk a little bit about mailers, right? Because mailers go back old school, as far back as even when we started, right? In the old days, the snail mail, long before the email, right? A lot of us started our real estate business before there was the internet. And how for somebody who's newer, if they wanted to break into that, because what we've seen is in the old days, people would get 5 mailers a day from realtors, different realtors, right? So it was so watered down, it stopped being effective. Well, now no one does it. And because no one's doing it, that means it can work. But how do you make your mailer effective? Because I see people just send in a mailer like, hey, look at me, and they get no response, right? Because that's not what's going to work. Who wants to talk a little bit about effective mailers and how we can use modern technology to 10x it and make it work? Go ahead.
I do.
Go ahead. Who wants to talk? I saw somebody.
I think Kelly talked.
I do.
Kelly, let's
Yes.
hear it.
Yes. So mailers today have moved away from being agent centric to being client centric. And so if you're mailing, so you're just sold, for example, should say, how did you get that house sold? When did you list the house? Did you stage it? What were the steps that led to the sale? How many people came to the open house? Where did you advertise it? And what was the result? And so telling that story allows someone else, another seller, to see themselves with you as their agent versus, oh, I just sold another house in 3 days. No, this is all the steps. These are all the things that we do to get your home sold. It's way more effective and it leads to come list me calls versus just another agent tooting their own horn. Another way to upscale your marketing is to, Keith mentioned it, is to have that QR code because it's going to bring them, for example, to your YouTube page if you have a QR code leading to your video. And they actually get to have that. Video is the next best step if they don't see you in person at the door. And so it gives you yet another touch. So direct mail has made a huge comeback and done effectively. And effectively also means consistently. You can't send out one mailer and expect for your whole world to change. But if they see you over time, you're going to get business from it.
So you're running more of a campaign, Kelly, right? What I would call a campaign where you have a set story model set up and you're telling the story of how you got the house sold over a series of mailers. Is that correct?
Yeah, so they're going to hear from me anytime I list the property in that area. They're going to hear from me when it's under contract. They're going to hear from me when it's sold, how we did it. They're going to get an invite to the open house. they're not just going to get one touch. They're going to feel me, as Keith says.
Love it. Tony, you got your hand raised. Tony Justo.
Yes.
Did I say your
Totally was
last name
gonna.
right, Tony?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good
Your
deal.
camera
I
Totally
was
was
going to
gonna
say
agree with
Quisto, but I knew better. It's Justo. Go ahead.
totally agree with Kelly. You
Oh.
gotta send him out multiple times to keep touching them. And another thing that I find effective, get like a invitation envelope where it looks like they're getting a card in the mail, hand address it. Don't use any sort of things to tip them off that this could be coming from a business. I'll use my personal residence on some mailers, depending on who I'm sending out to. Otherwise, get yourself a business suite through like Kinko's or FedEx or one of those to use as a return label address, and you will get more people opening your mail and calling you than if you don't.
That's great stuff, Tony. And there's now apps, I think, or services where it's a handwritten on the note, but you're not really handwriting, like the auto pen type deal,
Oh, yeah.
right? Where it looks like you're handwriting, but it's not, and you can get it done. If anybody
Well-
knows like the app or something on that, put it in the chat. If anybody knows the technology.
Actually, there's companies out there where you can hire them and they will hand address it for you. One is called A3 Marketing, and it's very inexpensive to do. And
Tony,
they will
throw
hand
them in the chat because people are going to want to do it. Then people can download the chat afterwards so they have it. But throw those companies in there if you would. That'd be awesome. So people have that. So we've talked about some old school strategies, right? The old pop by, right? Not Popeye as in Popeyes. Now I'm hungry thinking about chicken now with that extra spicy. But Popeyes. We've talked about direct mail, right? Old school type strategies that are making a comeback, but how to integrate modern technology into it. I love the idea from the Jacksons with the QR code, taking it to a specific video that deals exactly with the card that you're mailing. That's amazing, a genius idea on that. I love it, and I think I'm going to put QR codes on our listing signs from now on. Takes them to an intro video of us. So I love that. Great stuff on that. What's another old school tactic that worked? How about open houses?
Yeah, that works. We're doing open houses. We've been doing them over the past 3 months, and we've sold 2 of our listings to people that have come to the open house. We had one in the middle of a torrential downpour. This family came to an open house and they bought the property. And open houses work.
Nothing like an open house when the weather's bad because there's no tire kickers. Like it's 2 foot of snow in Columbus, Ohio, and there's an open house and somebody shows up. They're buyers. They're hardcore. They're looking. They got a checkbook with them. So that's good stuff on that. So let's talk about old school open houses. What can people do now to take this old school strategy but really update it and maximize it for today? What's some things that people can do that we didn't have back in the day 30 years ago that you could do with open houses?
The deal that we looked at that Stephanie told us about, and you alluded to it there for a second, was the text to tour lead capture. In other words, having a text writer on a sign that would take us to a QR code or whatever it may be, or open house announcement, whatever it may be. That deals with text automation. I just thought that was incredible. You could go back to last week's, I don't know if it was Monday or Wednesday, but where she was talking about all the different modules that she uses she calls it the One More Sale Agent Playbook. And in there, she talks about these signs, putting the text writer on the sign, and it leads to a QR code for an open house or whatever it may be to capture people. The other thing about open houses is the more signs you put out, the more attention you get. And, I'm a real believer, in putting a lot of open house signs out.
Yeah, you hear young people or newer people in the business say, why would I put out open house signs? People are going to use GPS to get there. Well, the idea is your mugshot there on the open house sign. First of all, they've already seen your face. So when they show up, right? When they're driving through the neighborhood to get there, they've seen your face on the sign. You're no longer a stranger. Breaks down that initial part. They're a stranger to you, but you're not to them because they've seen your face. And secondly, everybody in the neighborhood who's driving through, going, taking their kids to soccer or whatever, right? They're seeing your face that you're in that neighborhood working. So it's psychological
Genius,
warfare.
yes. Mhm.
We're
Yeah,
throwing
we use these big flag banners that are they're about 8 foot tall. We put it on, 2 or 3 of the corners leading in to the open house. It just draws attention, and big banners.
I love it. You can also do some geo marketing on Facebook and things like that, right? Where you can advertise your open house, which lets your sphere of influence know that, hey, you're working without saying, hey, look at me, I'm a realtor, but you're reminding them top of mind awareness and also other people out there that the open house is available and generate some leads off that. So you can mix technology in with old school strategy, but there's nothing better than meeting people face to face, right? They
Hey,
got to
Jim,
know you, they got to like you, they got to trust you. And how can somebody do business with somebody they haven't shaken their hand, right? And
Hey.
so it just gets that first appointment out of the way, right? The first to rip the Band-Aid off and you're face to face with people. And a lot of times I think, somebody tell me if they think I'm wrong on this, but it seems like there's more and more unrepresented buyers coming into open houses because people are doing their own searches now.
Mhm.
In the old days, they had to have a realtor to get a list of all the properties. Now they're finding them on their own. They're finding the open house on their own and they're walking in. And now you have an unrepresented buyer. And now it's game on, right? To build the know, like, and trust on there. So we've talked about Popeyes. We've talked about mailers. We've talked about open houses.
I don't think we was really finished the open house talk, Jim. I
Keep
think
going. Keep going. Keep it
so
rolling.
we've had, if you have a house in an urban area with a lot of foot traffic, don't wait for the weekend. Do a middle of the week open house. We did that, and our buyers walked through the door on was it a Tuesday or Wednesday? From like 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So do some things different that sets you apart. And if you want to bring new school into it, do a video of you setting up for the open house, or Instagram reel if you want to get some people you don't know to know what you do for your to set up an open house. And that brings new people into your realm, and they love watching you do your normal thing, but you say, I'm setting up for an open house, quick little video, and that brings new people into your orbit wondering what you do and may bring them to your open house. So I think, open houses can go a long way. We didn't even talk about knocking on doors with open houses.
Right.
So when you do set up and you prepare, you go knock on those 10 doors to the left, 10 doors to the right, and then 10 across the street. But I got this from Kelly. I wish I could say I got it, on my own. You should just knock and say, hey, I'm holding an open house. But you can change it up and be more conversational and then say, hey, I'm holding an open house next door, just trying to get a feel for it. What do you like about the area? So now you get a conversation where you're not selling, you're not coming off thirsty. And now you have a neighbor willing to talk to you. And then at the end, you do the Columbo. Oh, by the way, if you ever consider, have you thought about selling or buying? So I'm showing my age talking about Columbo. So,
Yeah.
but you do the Columbo thing at the end, you start a conversation, not talking about, not being thirsty about selling. You're asking them about what they like about the neighborhood. What would you suggest I tell the new people, look, coming to my open house? If you want to come by the open house, please come by. Who's going to slam the door in your face if you're coming with a conversation like that? That's a whole different approach. People want to stay in there and talk with you and share their 5 cents.
I love it, Keith. And so I'll go with Keith on this, or anybody else who wants to answer this, and open to a bunch of different ideas. So maybe we got some people on here that don't have any listings. And they're like, man, I'd love to do an open house, but I don't have any listings. Where can they get some open houses that they could hold open? Because that's a great idea, doing twilight open houses during the week. I mean, if you're the only open house, in the neighborhood, guess what people are going to come to? It's going to be yours, right? So Tony, you had an idea, or Keith, go for it. Go ahead, Tony.
I always tell people, look for the agent that has a ton of listings in your office. Ask them if you can host an open house. It's a great way to get that in. And more likely than not, they're like, hell yeah, because they hate doing it. And you can get your name out and plaster it there. I have also done this where when I have houses, I'll talk to newer agents and say, hey, if you'd like to do this. And I've actually taken them out to show them how to host an open house and then offer them to host open houses for me when I have any properties. And then at least this way they know how to do it, what to do, and uh, that's how I'm effective with mine.
Love it. And effective is the key word with Tony. Open houses don't work, but effective open houses do. And we have a ton of videos, by the way, in our library and our YouTube channel of effective open houses. So we won't get into that. But how do you find some open houses? Who else has got an idea where somebody could get an open house if they don't have one?
Well, you need to stay with your company, first of all. I know we have different companies represented here, but go to a listing agent in your company and say, look, I want to bring a buyer to you. Could I have an open house at your listing? And they'll let you do that, So, but make sure you're going to your company because of representation. It's real important. But,
Yeah, we should give
just go
our
ahead and ask the
disclaimer on
question.
here that all of us as agents are all from different states all across the country. So you got to abide by your state and
Yeah,
your broker's rules. So that's our
right.
disclaimer. I should have said that at the beginning. So no, that's great advice on that, Tony. That's a good one. How about
I,
new
I
builders?
post, I posted a link in the text to one of Ricky Caruth's deals on how to get 30 listings in 90 days. And man, it's packed full of great ideas. But just take a look at that text in there. I'll be glad to repost it again if you just came on.
Yeah,
To
that's great.
answer your question,
Whoops.
going to the builders reps and befriending them and asking them if you can hold an open house at one of the models is a great way.
You went mute for some reason.
Oh, sorry about that. Uh, to answer your question, in terms of going to a builder, really it's going in and talking to the builders reps and asking them if you can do an open house for them. They're more than happy, especially right now, to get exposure to their new builds. And it gives you some great video for your. So I would definitely go to, I don't know what's going on with my phone, but I would definitely go to new construction and start there if I didn't have a listing of my own.
One of the great things about new builders also is sometimes they don't have them on the MLS, right? And so if you're able to, if they allow you to build one out, and your broker allows this, of course, in your state, you can build it out and you can advertise it on Facebook. And then people that are out there, those buyers that think they don't need a realtor and they know everything that's on the market because they're using Zillow and Realtor.com. All of a sudden, boom, here comes a house they haven't seen. Now you've got somebody walking in, somebody that you can talk to, and then
And
you can let them know why they would need a real estate agent. So love it.
and also one of the things we did in Texas with new construction was we asked the builder if we could advertise the property. And so the agent on our team, he was able to advertise it, and he listed all the incentives that the builder had. And he ended up getting 6 buyers that reached out to him on social media interested in new construction. So it's definitely a great way if you're in an area that has a lot of new construction, identify what the incentives are because that's what's going to draw people in. There's a builder that sent me an email today. They have 4.99% interest rate and they pay all the closing costs. So that's something that a buyer is going to gravitate toward. And if you're in front of it, you have a good chance of representing that buyer. And they're paying a BTSA or bonus to selling agent plus commission. It's a win-win.
One of the things we also do is we have housewarming parties for our buyers. So
Yes.
when one of our buyers has a closing, we go to that lender that did the loan, for our buyer, and we say, "Hey, look, we want you to sponsor a open house party." Then we go to the buyer and we say, "Hey, give us all the names, emails, phone numbers, so we can text them, and we're going to send out all the invitations for you." And what ends up happening is we get a database of all their friends. The friends come to the open house party, after the closing, and they meet the lender, they meet us, and of course they come to see their friend's new home. So let the lender pay for the food, and then get the database from your buyer and have a great party.
We must be in the same era because I had that on my list to talk about.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
perfect.
let's talk a little bit about client parties, because it seems like they were all the rage for a long time, and then everybody stopped doing them. Maybe it was the 2020 scandal, you know, that went off, that made everybody afraid to get together in groups or something like that. But let's talk a little bit about that, bringing people together again. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, so like Tony said, back in the day, we used to do buyer open houses, to where the buyer we'd go into the buyer's house and do a housewarming party, right? Great way to get clients. Another thing that we used to do back then is we would sponsor garage sales. So we would go to a community and we'd say, hey, I want to sponsor the garage sale for the whole community. I'll put the balloons out. I'll put the signs out. I'll have a welcome party at the beginning. I'll hand out flyers to where all the houses are and in the neighborhood that are participating. And so you get to connect with those people coming into the garage sale in that neighborhood. Hand out your information when you do.
Love it.
Great idea.
It's a great idea. We do every year an annual client appreciation party. And with the client appreciation party, it's not really about how many people show up. We do it around a football game, so we don't have to entertain people, right? We do it around the Ohio State University, a football game. And so we're not entertaining people. We ran out of sports bar. And when it first started, it was a lot smaller, but as it's grown now, we ran out of sports bar, and we've been doing this a long time. But the key isn't about the people showing up. It's the marketing you get to do to your entire database. You can send them mailers, you can send them emails, you can send them voicemail blasts, you can send them text message blasts, and nobody gets irritated with you when you're inviting them to a party. When meanwhile, the whole premise of the thing is you're basically just marketing them that, hey, I'm in real estate, I'm in real estate, I'm in real estate. And we start like 6 months before the party. Save the date. Here it comes. Make sure you're ready, right? And we start advertising it like crazy. And we stay in front of our people that way. It's a great way to do it. And we get our, as we heard Tony mention earlier, we get our vendors to pay for it. We got our title company there. We got our lender there. We got everybody like that. And our affiliates actually battle to sweeten the pot as to who's going to get to be in that spot, because we only have one of each vendor. It's a great way for you to get in front of your people, of course, face to face, have a few beers with them or whatever, but even more importantly, to just smash your database over and over and over again, invite them to a party. We're obnoxious with it. And in fact, if any of you are in our email database, you probably get smoked with it coming through like that. But it is a great way, I think, to stay in front of your people. And then we also base it around a charity. We have some silent auctions and things like that. So we throw a charity aspect into it too. And that's a great way to reconnect with people. Who else got some ideas on getting together in groups with their people? Love the garage sale idea. Love all that. Go ahead, Laura.
Yeah. As far as the client appreciation parties, I've hosted them in the past. I've done bigger ones and smaller ones. And then lately, I know I've talked about this in the past, I've been doing smaller groups. Like it might be 10 ladies for pedicures, or in a happy hour and get together 4 or 5 couples together. So, you might not be able to afford $2,000-$3,000 for a big client appreciation party, but you can do small groups. The advantage of small groups is you have more time to talk to each person individually. And then they all start talking to each other and networking. And half the time somebody knows somebody that knows somebody. So those have been a lot of fun, and they're so easy to put together.
Love it. It's a great way. Client appreciation party. Tony Giusto.
Yes, I was just gonna say another one is rent out a movie theater. It's not as expensive as you think, and get like all your previous clients in there, and it's a great way to reconnect.
Love it. Love it. And of course the marketing that goes along with it. So I heard Laura say the word networking. What about old school networking groups? Right? You've got Gold Star, you got BNI, you got all those things. How about networking groups? Do those work? When you go in there, do you get business from them? Is anybody doing anything like that? That's old school.
I think this is a networking group. It needs to be an open networking group because honestly, I'll go to a group and they say one realtor, one attorney, one painter, all that, and I don't get a lot of business from that. But if I go to an open networking group where anybody's invited to come in and on a topic, you know what? I meet more people and more people, interact with what I'm doing.
Love it. Love it. And so now, are you creating those networking groups, Tony, or are you just joining them?
No, I create them as well. Or I look for opportunities to join them. But if there's an opportunity where I can create it, I mean, we have things at the house all the time. And one of the things that I do is we look for groups who would like to have a place to have a meeting place. And we just tell them, hey, our house is open. Come on. And we've had 30, 40 people at a time inside the house or in the back. And by doing that, people know what we do when they come visit with us as well.
So we've got pop-bys, we've got mailers, we've got open houses, we've got getting groups of people together so you're face to face, whether it's in smaller groups or whether you're doing a client appreciation party, things like that.
Yeah.
All of them are old school.
Don't forget
right?
handwritten notes.
Handwritten notes.
Handwritten notes.
And
So-
I think we should talk about for sell by owners and expires, if we're talking about old school,
Yeah.
tried and true. We have Donnie is not up there, but I know Donnie built his business a long time ago on expired listings. I know Keith does a lot with for sale by owners, and it's just been a mainstay throughout all my years in real estate. Like that's the go back when you need to boost your business. You go back to for sale by owners and expires. Their hands are up. They have identified themselves. We want to sell our house. Expires even a step further. They've already signed something with a realtor. You don't even have to get over the trust hurdle with them. So that's a great way to
let's
boost
break
your
them into
business.
two. Let's break them into two, Kelly. Let's go FSBO first and then expired. So let's talk to, 80% of the realtors out there have less than 5 years experience, right? That's what we're dealing with right now. So they're saying, okay, FSBOs, how do I do FSBOs? What's the strategy? It's old school, but how do we do it new school? How's it work?
So old school, so the best for sale by owners just have a sign in the yard. They're not socially adept. They don't have professional photos. They're just kind of a seller that don't know what the heck they're doing. Those are the best ones. And then and so you could use resources like Zillow and Vulcan and Mojo and all of those. They'll find all the for sale by owners for you now. So that's kind of the modern twist on it. But really it is about, I say the best way is to knock on a door. But you can certainly call them up and tell them you want to come take a look at the property. But it's all about adding value to people. If you add enough value, they're 9 times out of 10 they go with you. And a lot of times agents, we give up after one call. Oh, I'm not working with a realtor. Well, that's great. When can I come out and take a look at the property? It doesn't matter what they say. And so it's really getting belly to belly with people the same way that all the other techniques worked.
Yeah,
I love it. Who else has a good FSBO? Go ahead, Keith Jackson.
I offered to do an open house for a FSBO, and she was all in for it. So before I say that, make sure you follow the rules and regulations of your state and your brokerage, and make sure you have all the paperwork associated with that before you do it. But she went and marketed the open house through her building for me. It was a condo. Put it all. She posted my flyer up in the building. So pissed off another realtor that wanted to come after me, but that's why I said make sure you have your paperwork in order. But it's a great way to offer.
They're haters,
value.
Keith. Haters.
That's it. That's it. I'm just doing my thing. But it's a great way if you want to find an open house, somebody that needs your help, because the market right now is not on the side of for sale by owners. Great way to get in, get your exposure, meet other buyers that may not want that house but need the help of a realtor. So think of it as, okay, if this doesn't work, I have a list of people that actively are seeking to buy a house. And if they came to a for sale by owner, they probably came in unaccompanied with by another realtor. Assume yourself into that position, and you have clients walking up to you to see an asset that you have, it's not yours, but you're marking it, and now you can turn that into clientele for yourself.
I
Hey,
love it.
Jim.
Who else has some FISBO advice to get your foot in the door with FISBOs? Because this is old school, but it does work. Who else got an idea?
I got a question about expireds when you're ready.
Okay, we'll go to Spireds in 1 second. We'll see if we're finished with FISBOs. Okay, so how about this? How are you getting in the door with a FISBO? What's your go-to line to get them to say, yeah, come on over and say hi? I mean, you know, there's parts in Columbus, Ohio here, you're knocking someone's door, you're getting a gun in the face. You know what I mean? So how do you get in there so it's friendly?
It's super easy over the phone right now to call them up and ask them, could you come out and take a look at the property? Too often we're trying to sell ourselves over the phone. Get yourself in the door. Soon as someone says, yes, we're done, I'll be there. I'm going to send you I'm rushing you out of there. We're not going to overly qualify or for sell by owner over the phone. We are going out and taking a look at the property. And when we get there, we have a list of all the buyers in our database. We use YLOPO, so it makes it easy. But we have a heat map, and we can tell them, hey, these are all the people in our database looking for a property like yours if we get some pushback to get in the door. But it really is super easy to get in the door with a for sale by owner. And then it's up to you what kind of value you add after that.
Hey, Julie, our VA, if you're listening, I think if we haven't done FISBO in a while, I think FISBO techniques, strategies, FISBOs for the 21st century, we should probably do that as one of our topics coming up here in the near future. I think would be great. I want Kelly and Keith Jackson on the panel, please. And sorry, Keith, Kelly just volunteered you, man. Sorry, there you
They
go.
are experts.
What you get for marrying up the chain? That's what happens, man. So I love that. So FISBO. Anybody else add to FISBO before we move on to enlisted military? To expired listings. Let's go to expireds. So you got FISBOs, right? That's one type of seller. These are people who are anti-realtors, supposedly, right? But they're going to end up 80% of them will end up listed with a realtor, anyways. Now we got expireds. These are people that are pro realtor, right? They already used one, but maybe they're not happy with their one. So let's talk a little bit about that, because this is the people have built their entire careers on this. Donnie Morrow, I see you sitting back there listening. I think he's chatting right now, but let's hear some expired techniques or what
Jim,
expired.
We were in a meeting together in Tennessee, and at that meeting there was a guy that did a presentation. He called it, calling on dead leads. And what he did is somehow or another going to the agent who let the listing expire or was letting the listing expire, and actually picked up a referral for that listing from the agent that let it expire. Do you remember that presentation?
You're talking about down in Nashville when we heard that. So young in the business guy from Austin. He talks to the agent that is getting ready to lose the listing and says if the guy makes a connection with them, he'd be willing to pay him a 25% referral fee if anything happens out of it. So he befriends the agent that's getting ready to get zero and say, hey, if we can work this thing out, and I can get this listing and get in there, I'd be willing to pay you 25% referral fee at closing.
He actually gets an introduction from that agent to the seller saying, hey, there's somebody out there that really knows what we should do to get your house sold. Will you talk to them? And I thought that was incredible,
It was pretty cool. It was really cool. And actually, I think I have that video of him doing that talk, which was incredible. We'll have to make sure we get that out there. Do that. We could actually have him, Julie, our VA. We could actually have him on here as a speaker too, if we wanted to talk about that system. It was really great. And I mean, the guy.
What was his name? Do you remember his name?
It's Brian. I'm old. I forget his last name, but I know it. I just saw him. I just saw him a couple weeks ago in Dallas. So I'll get it from. But he's out of Austin. It's really great. Great stuff. Kim Campbell, I think you saw him there too with me. Hey,
Yeah.
we'll get it. I got his stuff and we'll get connected on that. But so that's great on expireds. Yeah. What if you can get a intro from the agent that's losing the
Right.
losing the listing, and you put some money in their pocket. Now you made a friend, you collaborated versus just competing. Who else got some expired tips, tricks?
How about apology letters? Anybody send out apology letters? Hey, I'm sorry your home didn't sell. I may have some ideas of why, something your agent missed. And then you go into what you're going to do to sell the house.
I call it a fresh start.
There you go.
Fresh start. Now, I don't want to apologize for it. I said, let's take a fresh start, a new approach. I noticed a few things that could be done differently. Let's have a conversation. Is it worth a 15-minute conversation? And so I just want to pique their curiosity to make them say, well, what did you see that was missed, or what can you do differently? And that's my opportunity to get in front of them.
So Keith, you're using the 15-minute close to try to get just your foot in the door, and then it probably turns into an hour conversation anyways, doesn't it?
Yeah, because they come with all these questions and what about this? What about that? But just like Kelly said, get in the door first. That's all. Just get me in the door. Let me get face to face with you, and we go from there.
That's right.
So many agents talk their way out of the appointment on the phone by over talking it versus getting in there and just, hey, let's just meet up. Let's just chat.
Right.
Have a conversation. I love that.
I think with expires, if they're today's expires, then it is truly a speed to lead in terms of when you call. So if you're talking about calling today's, but I prefer older expires, the people who have not relisted right away. It gives them some time to cool down. They're a lot less nasty by the time you call them a week or so later. Uh, but if you're calling for expires every day, you're going to need to get up early and do it. Don't wait till the end of the day because they've already gotten 30 other calls and you're just number 31 and they're real pissed off by then.
Yeah.
So expired listings are a great old school. What's the new school technology that people can wedge into there to leverage it and to make it that much easier than it was 30 years ago? 30 years ago, you had to research each individual listing each time. Has it been relisted? You know, all that other stuff. What's the tech right now?
Now you
Anybody
can use
using the
Facebook
RedX?
remarketing.
What are you using?
But now you can retarget them on Facebook using the RedX data.
Great. So the RedX, we'll throw that down in the chat. That is a system for newer agents that are on here that are watching, where it will export the information from your MLS, import it into the software. It'll cross-reference it against all the different databases out there to get the contact information of the seller. And then it also has a dialer attached to it where it'll dial the numbers for you and just put you in when somebody live answers. And if they don't answer, it'll let you just drop your voicemail right into there, so you don't have to keep repeating yourself over and over again. You can knock out 30 calls in 30 minutes, right? Pretty great stuff. Paid service, obviously, but we don't make any money on it here. Just throwing it out there. But who else got some good tech stuff they use for expireds, or a newer system that we're integrating into there? Anybody doing mailers to expires, or is that too slow to get to them? As Kelly said, speed to lead.
I'm using my text and my videos, video text. You know, I have a few templates already made, so it's just a click of a button. I'm moving through. If I can't get them on the cell phone, text them. I'm emailing them, and the template's going out with the video. So I just keep churning.
I love it. A video text. So we got 5 minutes left. This is probably the old school that no one mentioned. No one wanted to say it, but picking up the dang phone and calling your past clients.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody doing that old school method?
Hey, answer the phone. How about that?
That's a good
So
one.
when people don't answer their phone and it goes to voicemail, what do you do then? How do you, because calling is some people think texting is better than calling, right?
I use all three. The phone calls first. Phone
So
calls
you do a
always
phone
best.
call
You get
first.
voice to voice. Yes, always. even when I don't want to, I'm like, I force myself to make the call. If they don't answer, while they're not answering, I'm queuing up the text. I'm queuing up the text to go. Or if someone gives me, I'm busy, text is coming right behind you, hanging up on me. Here comes the text. And then
Keith,
the
what's
email.
what's a video text from you sound like? Just roughly, like what's the idea behind the video text when you send it?
If it's expired, it's say, hey Jim, I noticed your house came off the market. I'd love 15 minutes to give you some new ideas to actually get the property sold. Give me a call.
Wow, love it. Straight and to the point.
Wow.
Boom.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim, I got a message for new agents. If there's new agents on here,
There's a bunch.
when you're talking to buyers, okay, and you say to them, "Hey, I've got a property over here I want to show you." Make sure you know what the price is, okay? Because you may be talking to a seller and they've given you a net price without compensation. Make sure you know what the price is. Make sure you know what your compensation is, okay? Before you go promise a property to a buyer. Because, you may say, I've got a property out here, we can get it for $400,000. But by the time you've gone back to that seller, the seller wants $450 for it. He never knew anything about your compensation or anything. You're just out there promising. So make sure you know what you're selling. The other thing is that, we're telling, agents now, co-op agents, they'll call us and they'll say, what's your compensation? And we'll say, with a full price offer, this is what it is. Okay. We're getting more and more full price offers because they want to get paid a full compensation range. And I'll tell them, I'll say, you bring us a low offer, and man, you talking about compensation getting negotiable. It's really going to get negotiable with this seller. And so we're seeing full price offers because they just want to be compensated.
Love it. Love it.
Hey, Jim, one
So
last
we
thing for
went
new
through.
agents.
Go ahead, Keith.
If they're showing properties, if you're going to view properties or you're just going to tour properties on your own, knock on some doors around and say, hey, I just showed the property next door. I have some folks that might be interested. Again, what can you tell me about this neighborhood? What made you move in? And now you got conversations with people that may take your information and they maybe decide to sell later. So don't just go show a property or go tour a property on your own. Use that for a way to get new clients in your database. Go knock on that door and just come from a place of value or curiosity. I'm showing this house. I may have a buyer for it. What made you move into this house? What would you say? What can I tell my buyers that's great about this neighborhood?
Yeah.
Non-threatening.
I like
You're not
that.
begging for business. That neighbor, if they open the door, is going to talk to you.
Love it. Love it. So I put in the chat box everything we've talked about today: pop-bys, mailers, open houses, client get-togethers, right? FSBOs, expireds, and then calls to your database. These are all old school, tried and true. They've built people into gazillionaires in real estate, and the people that didn't do them have been washed out of real estate. So what's old is new again. The great thing about if you're newer to real estate right now, and for those of us that are grizzled old vets that are working our way through, is technology has made all of these things better, right? All of them work, but technology you integrated in has made it so much better on the way to integrate it, like Keith was talking about, putting the QR code on there. Just something as simple as that, where it goes to an automatic video where the people can see and hear your voice. It's an incredible opportunity right now, especially if you're somebody that doesn't have any old bad habits, right? If you're newer to the industry and you can be taught fresh and clean like this, these things work, and you can take them and put them in your business and use current day technology to maximize it. The key is to not get distracted, right? Is it a money making activity? If it is not, then don't do it. Right? Don't do it. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. Anything anybody want to add to finish off here? We got 60 seconds before we'll jump off and let everybody go.
In
But
today's economy, go focus on listings. Go get listings. You may say listings aren't selling. Let me tell you, listings is where where it's going to be as soon as this economy breaks. If you've got the listings, you're going to be order takers is what's going to happen.
List to live, baby. That was the saying when we got in. If you when we got in, like we were in jail or something. So anyways, I want to thank everybody for jumping on. I want to thank everybody that contributed today. And if you're watching this on the recording, don't forget, we do these live every Monday, noon at Eastern Standard Time. On our website, we have the ability for you to suggest topics. I think we grabbed a couple topics today out of there that I think we should get into a little bit more. But it's right here in the events tab. You can go in here and you can suggest a topic. If you're somebody who's an expert in a certain arena and you'd like to share it with the group, we'd love to hear about that too. And so we also have our Facebook page. Of course, we'll record this and put it on YouTube for those of you who are like, man, I can't remember what they said. It's on there. And before we jump off, if you'd like any of these websites, you can download the chat. If you go over on your desktop, it doesn't work on your phone, but on your desktop, there's 3 dots. If you hover over it, it'll click more, and you can go down and you can click save chat, and it will save all these websites in the chat to your desktop on your computer. So I want to thank everybody for jumping on today. Have a great Monday. Go get them, get after it. And we'll see everybody next Monday. Do we know next Monday's topic yet?
Not yet. Still working on it.
Okay, good. So jump on the website to check it out as we have it. And the recording here will be up the next day or two on YouTube from this one. So
Very
thanks
Great
everybody
job.
for jumping
Great
on.
job,
We'll
Jim.
stop
Bye,
the
guys.
recording.
Thank you, everybody.